Hi, Math 1. This lesson is going to teach you about linear inequalities. An inequality is something that means not equal. So when we graph this, we're not going to have just a line. We're going to have an entire area above or below that line. This section shows the solution region. Everything in this area is a point that works. There are infinitely many solutions. For example, this point right here is in the shaded region. -2, 1 is a solution. But this point right here is also a solution. 3, 2. A dashed line, is not where the solutions are. This is not the solution region, and you cannot be on a dashed line. So the solution region is everything that is shaded. Here are the steps how you graph an inequality. It's almost like graphing a line. This is almost like the line 4x minus 6y equals 24. The only difference is this inequality symbol. So in standard form, we have to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So when you cover up the y, I'm going to write this equation right here. 4x equals 24. Divide by 4, and I get 6, 0. I'm using the equation of the line so I can figure out where to draw it, and then I will shade. To find the y-intercept, I cover up x and the y equation. Right here, divide by -6 on both sides, and the y number is -4. So that helps us draw the line. Those are the intercepts. Okay, now step 2, you have to determine what kind of boundary line. If you have a greater than or a less than, you used a dashed line. But if you have the equal sign, then it's a solid line. This inequality does not have the equals, so the type of line is going to be a dashed line, dashed. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this line. My x-intercept is 6. My y-intercept is -4. And we've already determined that the line will not be solid. So get your ruler lined up and draw a dashed line. Make sure I can see the dashes, and we still put the arrows on it. And now I have to figure out which way to shade. I will do that by testing the point 0, 0. I will plug in the numbers 0 for x and 0 for y. So in my inequality, we're going to use the inequality now because I have to know which way to shade. 4 times 0 minus 6 times 0. Is that more than 24? 4 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. Let me tell you a hint. This side is usually just 0. Is 0 more than 24? And the answer is no. So 0, 0 is right here on the origin. Right here, I'm going to say no. And so I'm looking at this line, and I'm trying to figure out which way I'm going to shade. Should I shade this way? No. I'm going to shade on this side of the line. So you have to color everything on the graph paper that is below that side of the line. All of that, right here, is what I call the solution region. The solution region. This entire area has all the points that are solutions. There are infinitely many points in this shaded region. many, many. Do not pick one on the line. Not equal, but all of these. Let's name a solution. I'm going to pick this one right here. The x number is 1, and the y value is -7. Let's see if these are solutions. 3, -2. 3, -2 is right here. It's on the dashed line, so I'm going to say no. 4, -5. 4, -5, yes, it's in the solution region. Where is this point? -2, -3, no, it is not in the solution region. Where am I looking? I am looking in the shaded means colored, the colored solution region. So there's not just one answer, there's many answers. And how you show that is by coloring the piece of the graph paper that is the solution region. Let's test this point in the inequality. So I'm going to put the x number and the y number into the inequality. Let's copy this down since it's so high. Let's write 4x minus 6y greater than 24. So let's put the 3 number in parentheses for x. Let's put -2 in for y. And you can go ahead and use a calculator for this. When we type this in, what do we get as an answer for the left side? The left side makes 24. Is 24 greater than 24? No, it is not more, it's equal. Okay, so this answer is no, but we also said no up there by looking at the graph. Okay, let's keep going. Let's practice lines and shading. So the type of line, okay, if you have an equal sign, you're going to be solid. If you don't have an equal sign, you're dashed. This one is going to be dashed. No equal sign. And let's practice testing 0, 0. Oh, should we draw a line? Let's draw our dashed line. Thank you for drawing the intercepts for me. And when I put 0 into x and 0 into y, 2 times 0, 4 times 0, what does everything here make? It makes a 0. Is 0 less than 8? And the answer is yes. So right here on the origin for 0, 0, I'm going to write a little tiny yes. And now it's time to shade. So when you put your ruler here, should I shade this way? And the answer is yes. Make sure that you color the entire graph paper. Don't leave any of it over here empty. The only part not colored is below the line. Okay. Sometimes a little number line can help you. Is 0 less than 8? And the answer is yes. Let's try again. It is the same inequality here, but it's got a different symbol. Since it has an equal sign, we're going to do a solid line. So let's use our ruler and let's draw a nice long line with arrows that is solid. And now it's time to test. 2 times 0 minus 4 times 0. 0 minus 0 makes 0. Is 0 more? It's is not equal than 8. Here is 0, and here is 8. Is this more? And the answer is no. No. 8 is more. 8 is bigger. So I'm going to write a little tiny no on 0, 0. So now, do I shade above or do I shade below? Okay. Do I shade this way? And the answer is no. You shade this way. This is the solution region. Let's do one from start to finish. Okay. So I have to find the key features. They didn't give them to me this time. So let's find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. To find x, I cover up y. 10x equals negative 40. Divide by 10, and that makes negative 4, comma 0. The y-intercept, 20y equals negative 40. So when you're finding the intercepts, you just pretend he's an equal sign, because all I want to know is finding this point, and then I'll turn him back to finish the shading. Divide both sides by 20, and what is the y-intercept? Negative 2. So the x-intercept is negative 4, and the y-intercept is negative 2. Looking at this symbol right here, what type of line should I draw? There is no equal sign, so we're going to do a dashed line. So let's go to our graph paper and let's draw a nice long line that is dashed. And now it is time to test 0, 0. When you put 0 in for the x, 10 times 0 plus 20 times 0, 0, 0, that's always going to make a 0. The question is 0 more than negative 40? Here's 0, and where is negative 40? Oh, way, way, way down there somewhere. This is where negative 40 is. Is 0 more? And the answer is yes. 0 is more than the negatives. So I'm going to write a little tiny yes on the origin. And now it's time for shading. Should I shade this way? The answer is yes. Yes, shade this section of the graph paper. And that is the solution region. Here is the solution region. A region means a whole section. There is not just one solution, there's many solutions. Every point in here is a solution. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is a story with inequalities. This is very similar to the last chapter. Each window Zebo washes takes 6 minutes. X is going to be for windows. So let's put an X right on top of the word window. I'll use a different color. Each carpet takes 12 minutes. Carpets is Y, so let's put a Y right here. So now to make the inequality, this helps me a lot. I have 6x and I have 12y. Okay, and remember, in standard form, this is always where we put the total. She can work for at most 48 minutes. So how do you say at most? That's the maximum. She cannot go more. So we go less than or equal to 48. That is the inequality for this story. As soon as you have your variables, let's go ahead and write those down. X is the number of windows, and Y is the number of carpets. Okay. To get this graphed, there's a couple of steps. The first thing is the key features, the X and Y intercept. So if we cover up at the Y, let's find the x-intercept. What is the x-intercept here? 8, 0. Let's cover up x, and let's find the y-intercept. To do intercepts, we change it to an equal sign. So I can divide and I can solve, and the y-intercept is 0, 4. So on the x-axis, we have our intercept point at 8, and our y-intercept is at 4. Here is the y-axis. Okay. The second thing we need to do, is figure out what type of line should I use, solid or dashed. It has the equal sign, so let's use a solid line. This is very similar to the last chapter. We do not have negative windows. We do not have negative carpets. So when you draw your solid line, we do not put arrows. We do not have negatives. Okay, so let's just put a star here. No negative windows. No negatives for the stories. The last thing we have to do is figure out which way to shade. And so I will test the point 0, 0. 6 times 0 plus 12 times 0. Is that less than or equal to 48? Is 0 less than 48? And the answer is yes. So right here in the origin, this is a yes. So when you have your ruler, we have to figure out which way to shade. Do I shade this way, or do I shade above? You put your ruler on the line, and this makes the barrier, the section. And this way says yes, but we cannot have negative windows. So when we shade, we have to stay in this little triangle right here. Cannot have negatives. So we color this entire triangle right there. And that is our solution region. We're going to use that to answer some questions. Can Zebo clean 3 windows and 3 carpets? Looking at the graph, can she do that? 3 is right here, and the answer is no. Let's justify. That means you have to explain your reasoning. The reason I said no is because the point is not in the solution region. It's not in the shaded area. It's not in the solution region. Now, let's justify. Let's show work. But now they want to see algebra work. So they want me to check the point 3, 3 with algebra. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the numbers into the inequality. I'm checking 3, 3. Let's do that. 6 times 3 plus 12 times 3. Is that less than or equal to 48? Let's check with our calculator. What is 6 times 3 plus 12 times 3? What does that make? That makes 54. Is 54 less or smaller than 48? And the answer is no. The answer was no by looking at the graph. The answer is no by looking at the math. So let's try to find a point that is a possible solution. Okay, identify, find one. Let's pick any point in this solution region. I'm going to pick the point right here, 4, 1. Okay, so 4, 1 is the solution, but now I have to make a sentence. Okay, she can clean. She can clean. Let's see. This is 4 windows. 4 windows. And 1 carpet. Okay. Now, let's show some work algebraically. Let's show 4, 1 working. 6 times the 4 plus 12 times the 1. Is that less than or equal to 48? What does this side make? 36. Is that less than 48? And the answer is yes. Great job, math.